have heard about communities in schools? Okay, great. That's exciting to hear. Communities in schools, basically, our whole mission, you can see it on, we're all about graduating kids from high school. And our whole mission is to surround these students with a community of support and to help them stay in school and succeed in life. And we believe that every child needs and deserves these 5 basics in order to be successful. And that's a one-on-one relationship with a caring adult, a safe place, or a healthy start and a healthy future, a safe place to learn and grow, a marketable skill upon graduation, and a chance to give back to their community. And Communities in Schools is part of Tacoma, is part of a national organization. So alone in Pierce County, those that live in Ording, there's Communities in Schools affiliate there. There's one in Peninsula, there's one in Lakewood, there's one in Puyallup, and then Tacoma. But Bill Milliken actually founded Communities in Schools in 1976. He started pulling off kids in the street in Harlem and started working with them. And Jimmy Carter was president at the time, and he got wind of what he was doing. And ever since then, every president of the United States has supported Communities in Schools on a national level. We're in 3,500 schools across the country, so we're in 25 different states. And we all share the same vision for our kids. And Communities in Schools National had ICF institution do a research evaluation on communities in schools about 6-7 years ago. And what they found out is this CIS model was the only youth organization to be able to decrease the dropout rate and increase graduation rates. And so around the country now, all of the communities in schools are using this model. And in 2010, early 2010, Tacoma was one of the first to become accredited by CIS National. We were the only one on the West Coast. And we were already using this model that they had researched out. But basically this model, there's some flyers on the table, and you'll have, there's a little picture of the model too. This is kind of hard to see. But basically we hire a site coordinator here that works and goes into the school and has an office in the school and works with the counselors, the principals, the teachers, and they identify kids that are at risk of either dropping out of school or they're behind in their grade level. So our site coordinator then gets those needs and works directly with those kids and brings in the many different resources that it takes to help these kids succeed. What that looks like, there's mentors, there's tutors that come into the school. We work with the high school students on credit retrieval and serve a lot of service learning projects. And what we find with the service learning projects is that these kids that are used to getting, when they start giving back, and you guys all know what it feels like to give back, it's just so rewarding. And these kids get to start feeling that sense of reward, and their self-esteem just rises. And I was just thinking about the Who Moved the Cheese. Thanks for sharing with that, because it's almost what I was thinking when you were reading that is these kids, they move from one stage in their life with no hope. Their parents didn't graduate from high school. They're moving from place to place. A few years ago when I was working with some of the high schools, and we went into Mount Tacoma High School maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, I learned about couch hopping. I was like, what's couch hopping? Well, that's when a child doesn't have a place to live, and they move from place to place to a friend's house, and they live there for a few days until they get kicked out, and they go live at another house. And, my heart just goes out for those kids, because it's like, it's no wonder we have a hard time getting these kids to succeed in school when you're in the walls of these schools and you see what really takes place. Before I got involved in Communities in Schools, I used to read about this stuff in the paper. But when you actually are touched by, see a face and, those eyes looking at you and realize that, these kids all need a caring adult in their life to help them succeed. So in the schools, we bring lots of different resources in, and we get these kids active in the community as far as, sometimes we find out kids need eyeglasses. These little kids, sometimes you're trying to help them read, and you find out they can't read the letter alone, they can't see it. So we have a partnership where we bring in, they get a medical exam and they get hardware. We have free books that we give away on a regular basis. We take the kids on field trips, sometimes to the college campuses, which is really exciting to see with the high school kids, because sometimes these kids are going down the wrong path. And when you see a kid that's involved in gangs, and a lot of his friends are involved in gangs, and you take them on a college field trip, and you see their eyes light up, and like, wow, what would it be like if I could go to school here? And then you get them a scholarship, and you have them start filling out information, and you start talking to them about doing community service work and how to build up a resume. And they get really excited because no one's ever taught them how to take these different steps. We bring in guest speakers into the classroom, so many of you may want to, in the future, become a guest speaker. Last year we had the Tacoma Rainiers. We had them, they came in with several different guest speakers for about 12 weeks in a row, anywhere from the HR director to the manager to the food catering service and ticketed sales, field maintenance crew, just trying to show these kids what it's like to be part of a team. Playing baseball is one thing, but being part of what it takes to run Cheney Stadium is a whole nother picture. You have to have lots of different skills and the right team to make that happen. And then a lot of our kids don't come to school with just the basics, the clothes, the school supplies. We have a big Stuff the Bus campaign that we've been doing for about maybe 8 or 9 years now. And where we have about 35 different businesses in town. They're collecting school supplies for us. And tomorrow morning, the yellow school bus is going to be driving around town picking up school supplies, and it's really exciting. And then we have, we take the school bus down to Intel, and Intel employees sort all the supplies for us, and they stuff all the backpacks. And then we give all of those backpacks and school supplies to our school principals, and we believe that when they get to the inside the schools, then the principals, the teachers, and the counselors, they all know which kids are the kids that need these backpacks, and so that's how they're distributed out into the community. And then we have a lot of kids that don't come to school with the proper, nutrition. They don't have any food at home, so we have a partnership with the food banks, and they give us food for the weekend for the kids, and then they come in on Fridays, they pick up their backpack, and then they bring it back on Monday, and they get that filled back up for Friday. So that's really an exciting program that we've been able to do. The other thing working with the high school kids is we have a lot of kids that live in homeless shelters as well, and just the basics, hygiene products. We can't keep up with them. So all of those, sometimes we've had different clubs or different churches, or yesterday I had one of our board members, and she had been collecting them from all the hotels and stuff and all the trips that she takes, and then she brought in a couple little bags for me yesterday so I could drop it off at one of our high school sites. So those are just some areas, that different resources that we bring into the school, besides finding caring adults out there to come in and regularly mentor these kids or come in and tutor. And then our big program we started last year, that was a partnership with PLU and the Tacoma Rainiers. And basically PLU provided the curriculum for us. It's called Possible Selves. And trying to get these middle school age students and the high school students thinking beyond just the regular classes every day. What is it that you want in your life? How are you going to build that team? How are you going to build that support team? How to ask questions. A lot of these kids they come from the elementary school, and then they've got all of a sudden 6 or 7 classes, six and 7 different teachers, and it's really difficult for them. And so we brought in this Possible Selves with PLU, and they came in and taught our site coordinators how to teach the curriculum, and then the site coordinators came in to particular classrooms and worked with a group of students. And the kids got to do, I don't know if any of you have ever put together a visionary board, but it's really exciting. The kids put together the visionary board, and that's what really got them excited. They really started seeing beyond school, what is it that I want to do in my life? And so we saw lots of, it was really exciting. One of the middle schools that I went into, there was kids that wanted to be fashion designers, they wanted to be doctors, they wanted to be nurses, they wanted to be engineers. And one of the ones that I heard a lot, and I think it's the generation that's coming forward, is they want to be the video game designers. And they want to develop apps. And I'm like, wow, this is really exciting. So I told our site coordinator, I said, we're going to look really good when we get older, and we're going to be cared for really well. So it's just trying to plant in a seed in their head to think about, what about year 13? After you graduate, what's life going to look like for you? Where are you going to go? So these are the things that we do within our school sites. The schools that we're in right now, where we have a full-blown site coordinator, is we're in 3 elementary schools last year, which were Fern Hill on the south end, the east side Sheridan, and on the north end Sherman. And then we're in Baker Middle School and Mount Tacoma High School, and Oakland High School, and Tacoma Business Academy, which is a partnership with Bates and Tacoma School District and Communities and Schools. It's another alternative school for kids that have dropped out of school and want to have a different chance and go back to school. But we have I was just talking to the principal at McCarver a couple days ago, and one of our really big pushes this year is reading. And one of the things I can tell you is that, when you have a pot of money and you see it costs so much to work with these high school kids, and they deserve it just as well as the elementary schools, but the early childhood educational piece is so critical. Because what we find out is these kids are leaving elementary school and they still can't read at their reading level. And that's so critical to succeed in your math and your science and all your other subject matters. So the school district, I'm going to pop over to another screen here. The school district came to us last year and started talking to us about a Ready, Set, Read program that they started. And what it is that every elementary school has a set of 75 books in the school, and we are looking for volunteers to come into every single elementary school in Tacoma. And there's a poster that these kids can get. So the librarians, they go into, you have anybody that you know as a grandchild or a neighbor, let them know that, hey, the local elementary school is open. You can go there and check out books. And they can sign up for a program that's called Ready, Set, Read. They get a poster. They're encouraged to read all 75 of the books. And once they read these 75 books, either with a parent or another caring adult, at the end of the school year, they get a poster with their favorite book. And they get to take it home with them. And they have a special guest that comes to the school and gives this award to the kids. It's really, really a great keepsake for the kids. And what we're doing is we're testing these kids when they come into kindergarten. If they were involved in this Ready, Set, Read program, we're testing to see, we're going to be piloting a cohort of kids, those that participated in the Ready, Set, Read versus the ones that didn't, and look at the improvement of where they're at. Because we can't continue to allow these kids to continue to go through different grade levels and not get the support that they need at the elementary school level. So, I'm calling as many volunteers as I can, because when I'm talking to these principals and they're telling me that half of their kids at their schools cannot read at grade level, that just tugs at my heart. It's just like, wow, it's just like, we got to rally around these kids, these schools. And, You know, maybe if they don't have a caring adult, then we have to get the community to come in and help them out and help them build them up so they can succeed in life. Because if we sit back and allow the same system to happen, we're going to get the results that we've been getting. I've been reading the Jeffrey Canada book, and it's called Whatever It Takes. And Jeffrey Canada is the gentleman that started the Harlem Children's Zone in Harlem, and he's, you know, everybody's watching what has happened around what he has done. And one of the things that he did is he really rallied the community around his school and got those parents into the school, got the community into the school, and is bringing in all the different resources, just like Communities and Schools is doing here in Tacoma. But so with that, there's one other piece that I wanted to kind of share with you is Communities and Schools. One of the research studies that they did, and I put a few of these flyers on each of the tables, but in 2011-12, Communities and Schools touched over 6,000 children in our community, and we served 149 parents in different school events. We serve 7 school sites. We do this all with 10 staff members and 206 volunteers on an annual budget of a little less than $400,000. And CIS National did another research study on the return on investment. And if you flip the side on the other side of this piece of paper, you'll see that they worked with a company, EMSI, to evaluate those Communities and Schools organizations that were directly into the high schools and what was the return on investment based on their annual budget and all the different resources coming into the school. And so for every dollar that goes into Communities and Schools of Tacoma, there's a $10 return on investment. So, and then they expected, the research said that the investment would be paid back by the time that these kids, back into the community, by the time that these kids are 27 years old. So it's pretty exciting. This is just fairly new within the last month that we received this research study. So we're really excited to be part of this, you know, national organization that is able to do some of the research that needs to be done to help us move forward in the way that we need to move forward here in Tacoma. With that, I open it up to any questions that you might have.
Our club has projects with Lincoln High School and Stewart Middle School. And now some of our members want to find a program like the old Read to Me program, where they can go into the elementary schools and would prefer, I guess, to feed the feeder schools. You know, there's, I'm sure, 4 or 5 schools that would feed into Stewart and then Lincoln. And so once a week, 1 hour a week for that reading with one-on-one. Do you have something like that?
Yes, we do. In our elementary schools, the programs are all one-on-one. And they're very similar to what Read to Me was, but it's a curriculum based, so it's actually, we have a 1-hour training that we go over the book with you. It's all phonic and phonetic based, so it's really very simple. You're working with first graders and second graders, and you come in and meet with them once a week at the school between 4 and 5. The other piece is with the school district now, with volunteering, you can let me know which school site you would like to volunteer at, and then we're coordinating that with all of the elementary schools in Tacoma.
So the volunteer can pick the day of the week, or how does that work?
Well, at the specific 3 that we're in right now, so like on the east side feeds in, the Sheridan feeds into Stewart. We do that every Tuesday. Yeah.
So there would be another school
Cool.
that does it on a different day?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and actually they just got a new principal over at Sheridan, and she's actually open now to having any volunteer come in Monday through Friday and working with those kids. So that's, some of our principals are a little bit more flexible.
How do you fund your budget?
You know, we're like any other nonprofit. We do an annual special event every year, and we do different fundraising events. We do grant writing, different foundations, so individual contributions. So we gravitate whatever resources that we can get to help support these programs. It usually costs about $30,000 to go into an elementary school, and about $50,000 for a middle school, and about $75,000 for a high school site.